lockdown babies. Now, they are not used to seeing people. How does one change that? Let's find out. Nisha Diwan is a sociologist and a mother of a 3.5-year-old and a 2-year-old. She shares her children's pandemic journey.
My son was only 1 when the lockdown began. So there hasn't been a fundamental change in his life. For my daughter, she was going to school, she was going to activities, she was going to play area, she had a friend circle, she was going to the park, and all of a sudden that changed. For my 2-year-old, there hasn't actually been a loss. It's just that his life has continued as normal. For my 3.5-year-old, there has been a shift in her life, and she says this. She says, she calls COVID-19 the bukaru, and verbalizes that I want the bukaru to go away.
A 2-year-old, a 3-year-old who is only meeting 2 or 3 adults, doesn't have too much engagement socially. Social skills are learned, and they are learnable, depending of course on the temperament of the child and how much opportunity they get to learn it. So one would imagine that when the world opens up and the child does have the opportunity to slowly, in little bite-sized pieces, meet other people, they're going to take some time over it, but social skills are learned, and so they will learn. And children who are a little older, who have then been in lockdown, say 3 or 4 or 5, might have a period of regression where they've sort of forgotten, lost those skills. But development isn't linear. Development is forward and backward. We learn stuff, we lose it.
Priyanka is a mother of 2 children. Her younger one was 1.5 years old when the pandemic hit. She gives real-life solutions on how to make a toddler get used to people.
I have 2 boys, 4.5 and 2.5. And when the lockdown started, I was more worried for the older one, since his life was, packed before that. School, classes, sports, park, everything. The younger one was just 1.5, when they started. So it was not that big a concern because parents were home, brother is home, so he was fine. It was only after months, like probably 6 months, when we started meeting people, we realized how socially awkward my younger one was. So we started, first of all, made a bubble, started interacting with a few friends who had kids same age. And secondly, we started, like at nighttime stories, we started talking about his friends, his peers.
Experts say that a child seeks a safe environment and happy parents, but that becomes tedious if COVID fatigue sets in.
Me personally, back in March, I was a hyperactive Pinterest mom. I was thinking up 4 activities a day for the children. I was a lot more intentional. Now, 10 months later, with COVID fatigue setting in, I'm not showing up in the way that I did 9 or 10 months ago. And this is further complicated by the fact that we ourselves are experiencing COVID fatigue. We're getting tired. We're working from home. And I think it's the solution in many ways is being intentional and really consciously trying to show up as our best selves.
The family, the parents are the people who the kid really wants to interact with. And if even 15 minutes in a day of exclusive time for the child, but regularly, so every day, even 10 to 15 minutes could make a huge difference to both your relationship with the child and also the child's sense of security as well as stimulation.
Increased screen time is something that most children have happily embraced as parents get some quiet time.
Screens are very, very difficult. Our daughter was 2.5 when the lockdown started, and she'd pretty much been screen-free before that. And now with Zoom school and the fact that, she needs something to engage her at home, she has a lot more screens in her life. Very hard to translate learning through play online. And also it's unnatural to have a 3.5-year-old sitting in front of a screen and focusing. It's an expectation that we have of our children that many of us probably couldn't do for extended periods of time. And I think as parents, we just need to be okay with that.
There's something about under threes, not more than an hour, etc. I don't know. I'm sure all of this is out of the window.
More involved with them and genuinely involved with them. So one of the things I would always say, tell parents, and I do this myself as well, even though my daughters are 9 and 12, but I've been doing with them, is to keep my phones away. So one of the things that is very popular with children of this age group of around the 2.5, 3 years is we get them to, you can get them involved in activities by creating colors, So if you don't have rings at home, you can have, colors, different colors of ribbons and keep them at one space in your living room or whichever the most spacious room you have, and put a yellow Lego piece in the yellow ring. So the whole idea is to get them to be more engaged with colors. So there is a fair amount of mental as well as physical engagement going on. But the most important thing is to be involved with them.
Parents of toddlers must know that this is the most manageable age in the pandemic. Even slightly older kids can come with complications.
Children over 5, their needs are more complex. It's a phase where they are learning a lot more. They are using their bodies, whether it's like swinging or hanging upside down or kicking a ball and running. These are things that have not been possible over lockdown, and that group has suffered a lot of frustration. It's like they are ready and juiced up with no place for that juice to go. So that age group, their struggle, I think, is far more visible.
So remember, toddlers are resilient and all they want is a caring environment and some real-life bed stories to remind them about the art of socializing.